Okay, hello my wonderful audience over there. Today I'm going to talk to you about this book, The Mob and the City. And this book is a gangster book. It's about the mafia in the 90s and 20s and the 30s. The hidden history of how the mafia captured New York. And it's a historical book, and over here we have a question: why did the Sicilian gangs come out on the top of the underworld? And this book deals with the population of New York first. They talk about the nationalities that lived in New York. There were the Irish, there were the Jewish, and there were the Italians. Those were the three biggest nationalities in New York in those times. And then this talks about, well, how did they conduct business, these criminal gangs? What did they actually do? And it's stated here pretty clearly that the mafia dealt in drugs and gambling, strong arming, and also loan sharking. Those were the main things that the mafia did. And then they also did a lot of gang warfare, gangs fighting each other, and there were a lot of assassinations. There were a couple of pictures of assassinated gangsters, mob bosses over here, and in the weirdest situations you could get assassinated if you messed up with this stuff. And it was a dangerous time. And it also talks about the drug trade, and how when the prohibition came, and when drugs like cocaine and heroin were outlawed in New York, how the mafia dealt in refining opium to heroin and that kind of stuff. And then it talks about all the biggest players. For example, here Charles Lucky, so Lucky Luciano. Here we have a picture of the guy, but I'm not gonna show that to you because probably copyrighted content. So it's a very kind of true book. You get a pretty good picture of how what happened in those times and what did these guys do. They were kind of living the high life for a while. They had a lot of money in this, and they made a lot of money in this. And most of these Italian thugs, they used to be from pretty poor backgrounds and that kind of stuff. So when they started to kind of hit it big, in this, they blew the money on gambling and clothes and cars and weapons, of course, and this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's an interesting book. I would recommend it to you if you are like really interested in this timeline. And I bought like few of these books featuring fedora hats and this kind of stuff because I thought that it would be very matching to my outfit and that kind of stuff. So when you go looking for something like this on YouTube, it's great. So, The Mob and the City, the hidden history of how the mafia captured New York. Man, those guys, they had the freaking style. So yeah, and the last fact about the mafia was that their kind of association with robberies was kind of not so clear. There was some stealing business going on in the mafia, but mainly the mafia wasn't about robbery. And then there were those other criminal gangs, so they weren't really gangs, they were more like criminal cliques, 5 to 8 people maybe, who robbed banks and that kind of stuff. It would have been really hard to do that with organized crime. So they were smaller gangs during the same time that did that, but the mafia was really about illegal business, and the loan business and the loan sharking business. And most of this stuff is kind of legal now at the moment, alcohol consumption and the alcohol trade is very open in United States.
and now they have also weed, but here they don't talk too much about weed. But of course the weed was freaking pretty much around, you know, in those times, and the jazz and weed was, these worlds were kind of, you know, intertwined. But here it doesn't talk so much about the entertainment world, except that there were a couple of pictures from Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra was clearly associated with the mob, and he had money connections to the mafia. And the mafia probably helped the guy to become famous, you know. And those people like Louis Armstrong and, you know, Frank Sinatra, of course they had talent and they were great artists, but artists those times, and I also believe that in the current times, kind of should be good friends with the underworld, you know, because in the underworld things of alchemical nature are being done, and the artist can capitalize on this. I'm not gonna talk too much about this, but it happens in the modern times also. I'll show you that. So the underworld is really important also for the artist to understand. The Mob and the City, a great book, a freaking style book. Thanks for watching.